Welcome to the Blue Cafe. Today we have one of those surprising stories. We all believe the op to be a simp. Which in a sense, he is. However, once you take out the maddening crowd of she's evil, listen to the story without any judgment. This op was right on the money. Now, on to today's story. How do you influence someone to see a psychiatrist if you think they are bipolar? Advice needed. I strongly believe my wife is bipolar. Even further because her dad also mentioned that he believed she had it. We experienced her first serious episode a couple weeks back, but both her family and her are against going to the psychiatrist for an evaluation. They believe marriage counseling is what we need and that will solve the problems. However, the actions and events that happened, I am confident were not because of anything within our marriage but rather something else. She recently lost her grandmother and her father was diagnosed with a serious condition. Are there any tips that you guys have used that have worked in convincing your so to seek help? Out of the blue, my wife has ghosted me. Seeking advice. It started Friday. We haven't had any real big issues in our 1.5 years of marriage and 4 years of dating, and Friday seemed like a normal day. She went to work, but never came home and left me with a text about spending the night by herself because she was feeling strange. She ended up sleeping in her car in an abandoned lot somewhere. Fast forward to Saturday morning and she comes home and basically tells me that we can't be together and doesn't see a future with me anymore, all while still telling me she loves me and cares about me. Sunday goes by and I try to be understanding, but she still wants to distance herself, and in our discussions there is no rational thought behind any of the reasons she is giving me. I ask Monday morning that she please doesn't do what she had done on Friday. Again she doesn't answer texts, and when she eventually comes home I realize I have been blocked in her phone. She says she needs to stay at a friend's house for the night and she scheduled counseling for us the next day. The next day rolls around and an hour before our session she says she is going out of state to stay with her parents. Then she doesn't show at the counseling session. She then took $1,000 out of our account via Venmo and took all the cash in the house, deleted Facebook, and is not responding through any medium. Luckily I have a pretty good relationship with her parents and they are relaying to me that she is safe, but it is still such a horrible feeling to be in this state. My wife has no job, no money, and no possessions outside of our marriage, so I do not understand why she would leave a great house, a supportive husband, and even our dog in this time. I am wondering if anyone else has had a similar situation. There is no thought or reasoning behind any of these decisions and I do not know what to do except be patient. We have had the best marriage up to this point and the last 4 days have been completely out of the blue and it is wrecking our lives. Please help if you have any suggestions. My wife, my first love, first partner, and best friend unexpectedly has been cheating on me, absolutely heartbroken. Rant. My wife, 28, of 2 years has done a complete 180 in the past few weeks. She went from someone who was loving, focused on starting a family, and completely trustworthy to someone who has lied, deceived me, and blames me for her infidelity. It all started 3 weeks ago. I was riding high. I thought our relationship was going great. We were talking about getting another dog and our honeymoon plans, since COVID wrecked the initial plans. Then Friday hit. I could sense something was up and even mentioned it to my mother on the phone. I don't know what's going on, I just have a bad feeling about my wife, I said. Then that night she texts me, I just need some space tonight, I know you won't like it but please respect my decision. She then proceeded to turn off her phone and she says she slept in her car in a vacant lot. When she came home I was understanding but stern that this sort of thing could never happen again, but she had completely changed her mindset on life itself, no kids, career focused, and wanted out of the relationship. The most telling thing she said was, I fear that we will cheat on each other in the future. What? Who says something like that, completely out of the blue? Many things happened since then, including her leaving the state for 2 weeks because she needed space. Last night I found that she had spent the night at her instructor's house after going to a movie theater. I also found a picture of the two of them. The worst part is, I was the one who has encouraged her in this career, and she never would have met the guy if I didn't introduce them. I have yet to confront her, but I am currently putting all the puzzle pieces together about this whole situation. She is basically blaming me for all these issues that we are suddenly dealing with, saying she doesn't like the way I talk to her, I'm controlling, and I call her names. I have done deep soul searching these past few weeks to try and understand what I could have done to cause this, but her accusations are unfounded. I encouraged her to get mental health, which in her mind equated to calling her names. I stressed the importance of communication when she shut off her phone, but she says that is controlling, even though I didn't stop her from spending 3+ weeks away from home. Finally, she has these recordings of me, without my knowledge, and thinks that they are proof that I mentally abuse her. I played these for my counselor and he disagreed that there was any sort of abuse in the recordings and was actually impressed with how calm and collected I was in the discussion. Anyways, none of these things are excuses for cheating and the way she has been treating me. I guess I am at the investigation stage still, trying to let her make her own choices, and I'll gather the data. It's tough though, and the person I once loved more than anything has completely wrecked our entire life together in 3 short weeks. I am at a loss for words how I feel right now. I've got a great support system and loving parents, but now I know how heartbreak feels and I never want to feel this way again. Edit. Second update. Third update. Fourth update. Best way to confront a cheating wife? Update. Above is the link to my story. TLDR, my wife of 1.5 years has been cheating on me with her flight instructor. I've done some deep soul searching and realized that it's because I didn't emotionally give in when she pleaded to take out a $50,000 loan so she could pursue an aviation career. Obviously Mr. Instructor gave in to her emotional side and I have evidence of the affair now. Update on me, I had a very rough weekend and it was tough being alone and without family present to help heal, but I had some great phone conversations with friends and family who are all incredibly angry at her selfish actions. I'm down almost 10 pounds, having a hard time eating, and it is tough to get out of the bed in the mornings. However, I am keeping myself busy by working out and playing with my dog a lot. The first time I actually broke down was when she asked what we should do with our dog. He's been my only consoling partner through it all and I can't see him with her. One of the things that really helped was to see people angrier than me when I told them about the affair smile. All in all, I'm actually doing well and I understand it's all part of the grief process. It helps to know that I value myself, know that it's not my fault, and to not compare myself to the other guy. She is coming home this week with her parents to take her stuff out of the house. She already said she wants out of the marriage. I do too. I still have yet to confront her about the affair and I am racking my brain trying to think of the words and place to say it. Do I do it in front of her parents? Do I do it with her alone? Do I spill out my heart or do I say a simple "I know what you are doing"? Ultimately it is up to me and my decision, but what has worked/not worked in the past for everyone here. Edit, we are not in an at-fault state. Third update. Fourth update. Confronting my wife about the affair was the best thing I did, thanks to everyone who has been helping me. Update. First post. Second post. So this is my third update about the situation. I want to thank everyone here for helping immensely. I was alone for weeks, but this sub has really helped me out and it has been very helpful to follow the advice of everyone here. TLDR, finally had a discussion with my wife, but she insisted her parents be in the room. We talked and she was nasty to me and showed not one bit of remorse or empathy even when I broke down spilling my heart out to her. The next day she went to my house. I finally was able to be alone with her. I confronted her about the inappropriate relationship. She again got her parents involved and her mom defended the affair with ridiculous excuses. Currently no contact with her, but I have seen a change. Read more at end. The shift has happened. I went 180 on her after I found out about the affair, and she has started to flounder. Her parents came in town last Wednesday and I finally was able to get her to have a discussion with me. I decided against revealing the affair with her parents in the room, but I caught her in multiple lies in our discussion. My tone was calm and very apologetic for the things she accused me of. The discussion was very hurtful as she was essentially saying ever since the day we got married I haven't treated her right and she has wanted out. She never mentioned this to me our entire relationship until now. She continued to accuse me of essentially emotionally abusing her by twisting my words from our previous discussions, and luckily my mother was there and my mom ended up calling her out on her lies, because my mom was in some of those discussions she was referencing. The two biggest things that kept me strong through that discussion were 1. Not expecting any sort of reconciliation or remorse. 2. Having a plan of attack for the encounter. My goals in that discussion were twofold. Publicly, in front of her parents, reveal how childish and mentally unfit she is when she is making these wild accusations while protecting my character. Stress to her father the need to get her to a therapist or counselor and have her work on her issues. The discussion ended with my wife storming out of the room with her mother and the father stayed behind with me and my mom. His emotions were genuine and very telling about the whole situation. He sat there and the first words out of his mouth were a tearful, "I'm sorry man," a father looking for answers as well. He told me this hurts right now because he considers me, his son, and I always will. This obviously made me very emotional as I told him, "I love your daughter and I just want her to be healthy, but at this point I just need to let her go." I told him about the affair and what I knew, and he understood where I was coming from. I stressed the need for her to have consequences for her actions as she has had none so far. Even further I stressed the need for her to see a therapist. He said he agreed and that he has been trying to get her to go, to no avail. Because of my two goals above, even though this discussion was not all peaches, it satisfied what I went there to do and I actually felt much better knowing that I had a father-in-law who understands what is going on. Then the next day came, I went home from work and my wife was moving some of her things out of the house. I wanted to be there so that I could make sure she didn't steal anything of mine. I actually fixed a part on her car and we had a calm talk about her future plans, etc. She told me she was going to keep working, for how much time she has left the job. I can't believe they are keeping her around. She said she is going to try and earn her ratings and wants to become a flight instructor. Wonder why, lol. I asked where she was going to live. She said an RV park, and my parents are going to give me their RV. At this point I told her, I just don't understand why you are doing all this, it doesn't make any sense. She said, I'm just so happy at the place where she works. I then asked, I just want to know, are you having an inappropriate relationship with AP? Wouldn't look me in the eye and said, no, of course not. I told her I knew and had evidence. I mentioned a couple of events. What were you doing last Wednesday night? Who did you talk to for 90 minutes at 11 p.m. when you were at a bachelorette party in June? I then showed her one call record and she actually openly showed me it was AP's number in her phone by typing it out, haha. She kept deflecting the accusation, I didn't have sex, check my VA, I don't even like sex, she does, he works weird hours / I had a question about flying. I stayed strong and calm and told her it gets easier if she tells the truth. I was witnessing a 28-year-old woman acting like a child who was just caught in a lie. The real kicker came when she asked if I wanted to get her parents involved. I questioned why she would do that, but I said okay. Immediately, before I even showed any evidence, her mom starts making excuses for her daughter. Maybe it was a dare call. This was already after you were having problems, isn't it? No, it wasn't. I calmly said to her mother, can you look at this objectively and tell me there was no inappropriate relationship going on? Her mom refused to answer and said I was trying to manipulate her into saying something just like I manipulated her daughter. When they ran out of excuses, all three of them stormed out of my house and her mom said, I hope you don't treat the next girl like you did my daughter, and then literally said, mic drop lololol. What a screwed up family dynamic. Her dad said nothing the whole time, and I could see he is absolutely beside himself in dealing with both of them. Eventually, my wife sent a text to me saying AP is one of my very best friends. I was really hurting, and we were separated at the time. No, we weren't, basically admitting to the cheating. She said she wants to talk with me about it with her lawyer in the room. I told her that I wouldn't recommend getting lawyers involved, seeing as she has committed multiple felonies by recording me without my consent. I haven't talked to her since Thursday, but the dynamics of the situation have been hugely shifted, and I couldn't have done it without the help of everyone on here. The last thing I mention, and it is probably pretty helpful in terms of where to go next. I noticed Sunday morning she went to church. She hasn't gone with me in a while, but we used to go all the time, and then took about a 500-mile drive to nowhere and then went back to her Airbnb. She hasn't had any suspicious activity, either out of caution now or realization of her transgressions. I do actually believe the fact that she didn't have sex, but it doesn't matter because I already have enough info, and don't need any more. I have already filed for divorce and she will be getting served within a week or two. 2 questions for how to handle the no contact. I would like to stay civil. I have been no contact. But should I reach out to her to have a discussion about our assets? I would like to, and I think she might be capable of a civil discussion. It would benefit both of us in lawyer fees and costs. If you have seen some of my previous posts, you might see that I think there is definitely some sort of mental illness with her, as she has suffered multiple serious traumas in her past. If she ends up apologizing at some point or changes her behavior, how can I go about getting her help while also protecting myself? She currently has healthcare through my job. Without it, she will not have healthcare. 4th update. Why do cheaters go after less attractive/successful people? Therapy. So I have been talking to family and friends a lot over this period, and one of my second cousins who I am really close to offered an interesting perspective. Basically, cheaters cheat because they are jealous of you and your success/attractiveness/charisma etc., and they want to take you down a peg because they are insecure about themselves. I think this is true in my scenario. My STBXW is very attractive, but has always struggled with her identity, holding down a job, and has had self-esteem issues. I never made this an issue and always encouraged her, celebrated her accomplishments, and told her how proud she should be of herself. I felt towards the end of our relationship she almost pitted herself against me. He or she is on your side, you just don't want me to be better than you, they're biased towards you, were all comments she made to me. I assured her that in a marriage you are a team and make decisions and communicate as a team would, and I'm not against her. Have you guys seen this in your situations? I just wonder why she is going after a much less attractive dude, who has a lot of debt, and isn't really anything special. Update 4, no contact, but now WS is threatening me. Update, the saga continues. Links to the previous 3 updates. First post. Second post. Third post. I have been no contact with my STBXW since about Thursday the 5th of August, basically 2 weeks. Since this time she has been served the divorce paperwork and responded via her lawyer. However, yesterday she tried contacting me, notifying me she knew how I found out about the affair. I did not and have not done anything illegal to catch her, and it must be driving her crazy that I have been no contact and she doesn't know how much info I know. She then threatened me, basically saying that if I don't tell her she will call the police/my commander. I'm in the military. This is a hollow threat because I have nothing to hide and I know it. However, I am concerned that she would mention this because I really don't want my career affected by this malicious person. I've contacted my lawyer and will give him a call later today asking how to proceed. This morning she sent another message asking for $1,000 for spousal support as well. I think she is trying to scare me into giving her money, but I know she is working a job and they are paying her currently. I also know she is staying at the house of the man she cheated on me with. Anyways, I'm staying strong, grey rock when contact is necessary and no contact everywhere else. I seriously think she may be a sociopath who feels absolutely no remorse about what she did and is frustrated that she has been caught in multiple lies. It also may just be the anger stage of grief as well. It all helps me to forget her faster and realize I'm better off without her. In the depression phase, do BPSOs usually apologize or feel remorse? General question about BP. Currently my wife is in what I believe to be a manic episode. I will link to the entire story below if anyone would like to have some context. Anyways, long story short, she has left me for someone else and completely changed at the flip of a switch after 4 years of us being together. The day before the start of it all, we were planning our honeymoon and thinking about adopting another dog. Now, she has left and basically blocked me everywhere, got a new phone, and completely cut out some people in her life. The last contact I had with her, I sent an email hoping that she finds peace, letting her know that I still am praying for her but that I have to step away, and finally that she made me the happiest person the 4 years I was with her. I am just so shocked how she could go from a loving person one day to a vitriolic, cold, and remorseless person the next. She still has subtle hints that she cares about me. I will always love you, you're my best friend, I love you because you never stop fighting for me, etc., which is very confusing when she follows it up with hateful language. At this point I have moved on, filed for divorce, and have yet to hear a sorrowful sentence uttered from her mouth. She won't get professional help. Her father has also suggested she see a therapist as well as me. There is nothing more I can do as a husband but take care of myself and let her go. I do really hope for an apology of some sort one day, but I don't know if it will ever come. Mainly I just want her to seek help, and the first part is admitting she has a problem. When your BPSO went from mania to depression, did they end up ever apologizing or feeling remorse from what they did? Full story. Update 5, seeing her for the first time since I confronted her about the affair. Alright, since the last update I have had some good times and some sad times. However, day by day life gets better and I am looking forward to my new life. It's been almost a month since D-Day. Luckily I will be moving out of state soon and beginning an exciting new job so I can start fresh. On to the update. The good news, the threats and blackmail have stopped. You can read about those in my last update here. The bad news, she unblocked me on text and wants to see our dog at a local dog park. This was one of the things I told her I would be willing to let her do, and I don't want to stir the pot anymore for fear of more threats of calling the cops / my work / etc. Why do I say it's bad news? Well, the no contact has been working great so far. I have been hanging out with friends, focusing on myself, and really getting better each day. Once I agreed to let her see our dog, in a grey rock manner, the feelings started coming back. What if she wants to come back? Maybe she is realizing her mistake. Is she going to apologize? So I went paint shopping a bit, found her entire search history on our shared computer, and honestly I didn't find what I was expecting. Throughout the last year or so there were a ton of searches for stuff like, why do I shut down? Is Sui selfish? How to date a girl who has been RD? I was expecting a ton of searches for stuff pertaining to the affair, which maybe she deleted. Instead it was incredibly sad to see where her mind was. What is worse is that it took me back to the times when we talked for hours about these issues and we made so much progress in our relationship, and she developed good coping habits and routines, which she has completely abandoned during this debacle. Of course, after seeing these searches I felt sad for her and how broken of an individual she must really be. However, it also made me feel sorry for her again, which is directly opposed to this entire process of divorce and cutting off the relationship. I am still doing better than I was before, but now I will likely see her Saturday at the dog park and I am confused how to handle the situation. I do not want to reconcile this relationship at all, but it is incredibly clear that my STBX is dealing with some serious mental issues that she has not addressed. The sad thing is I know she will not take this divorce well when everything falls apart and she realizes what she gave up on. I hope and pray that she does not take her life. I do know at this point there is nothing I can do except continue the no contact / grey rock during necessary contact, as she is not my responsibility anymore. I guess I am just looking for some support here. It would be a lot easier if she wasn't dealing with these mental issues / traumas and I could just easily break clean, and I would. However, it would be even worse on my conscience if I did no contact and she ended up becoming suicidal again. Before anyone comments, I know I made a mistake looking at her search history and pain shopping, but the wound is still fresh, less than 1 month since D-Day. I have basically blocked myself from going on social media right now, and I still have not been reaching out to her / talking to her at all. I credit this sub for so much in the last month. You all have completely helped me throughout the toughest point in my life, and I am forever grateful. I wish I could give you all a hug in person for helping me through this. If anyone else is dealing with something similar, feel free to reach out. Finally spoke after no contact, think she is coming down from her hypo / mania. Advice needed. If you would like to read the full backstory, feel free to check out my profile. Here is a short version of what has happened. Wife walked out on me out of the blue. I found out she then cheated on me. She wanted a divorce and has said some extremely hurtful and mean things. After all that, I basically went no contact with her. She knew she could reach out to me if she wanted because I didn't block her, but I had no intention of continuing a conversation with someone who was acting like that. Everything I said was twisted to satisfy her story, and I just had to give up for a bit. I heavily believe she is bipolar, but she is undiagnosed / unmedicated, and when I asked her to see a psychiatrist or doctor, she used that as an excuse that I was calling her crazy, and was even more fuel to the fire. Anyway, last week she finally reached out to me cordially for the first time, asking to see our dog at the dog park. I agreed and brought my cousin along just in case the situation turned bad. Not even 5 minutes into the dog park, our dog got attacked by another and lost his nail and was bleeding. This actually was a good thing because it forced us to go to the vet together and have a one-on-one conversation. I basically told her how my heart was broken, and how it hurt even more that she would say such mean and nasty things about me after betraying me. Instead of arguing and trying to twist my words again, she just listened. When I asked her if she thought I was a good person, she said she knew I was, knew I didn't lie, and knew I was trustworthy. I asked that we have an amicable divorce because that will help both of us move on more quickly. She agreed and finally unblocked me on Instagram and took down a mean post about removing toxic people from her life, referring to me. She still didn't apologize about the affair or any of that, but this was the first time I started to get through to her at least a little bit. She also confessed that her lawyer basically had convinced her to call my work, ask me for spousal support, and file for temporary relief. I'm sure that was all part of the hypo / mania when she was at her peak. All in all, it was a good discussion, and she said that it was very good for her emotions and mental health. She has continued to be nice via text and much better to me. She still wants the divorce, I do too, and shows very little emotion / empathy. However, my main goal now is to keep it as cordial and clean cut of a process as possible. I guess my main question to everyone is, what is your BPSO like after they come down off an episode? Should I expect depression in the future? Will she try and come back and realize what she has done? I've never experienced this sort of behavior in our 4 years together, so I am just not sure what to expect. Going through the divorce process with STBXW. This weekend I met up with my STBXW at the dog park with our dog. I followed the advice of everyone on here and my cousin tagged along. Long story short, our dog got attacked by another dog only about 5 minutes into the dog park, and we had to take him to the vet. He is okay, just lost a nail and was bleeding quite a bit. Anyways, this was probably one of the better things that could have happened because it forced us into a room to talk about things. I have already filed for divorce and she has already responded asking for temporary relief and the moon in support. When we finally were in the vet room, I was grey rocking very hard, 1 or 2 word answers, and looked generally disinterested. Then she asked about my living plans when I moved to California. I told her I would be living with a mutual friend of ours, who had recently been cheated on as well by his fiancée. She wanted to know if the dog will be in a good living situation. I told her he would, and that was when the discussion started about how to move forward. I made her realize that by blocking me and cutting off communication she had created her own problems that she was projecting onto me. After I asked, she admitted I wasn't this controlling, manipulative, terrible person that she made me out to be, and that she knew I was a good person. I asked her why she didn't go to the counselor with me before I found out about the affair. She said I already made up my mind and basically no one was going to influence her. The best thing about the discussion was that she agreed to come to an agreement outside of the court with me and eliminate the temporary relief hearing. She deleted a post about removing toxic people from her life on Instagram, started getting online therapy, going to church, and talking to her family again. I told her that I don't see the marriage as salvageable where we are at right now, and she agreed, but she also agreed to be amicable. She knew she wouldn't get a lot in the divorce because of how short our marriage was, and she would rather finish this divorce sooner rather than later for her emotional well-being. I talked to my lawyer and he said to keep talking to her and keep everything amicable so we can come to an agreement rather than go to court. I am still cautious, and by no means have I given her my trust back at all. However, it does feel good to have her recant many of the nasty and evil things she said about me. It also feels good to have a path forward that doesn't involve a drawn-out divorce process. Anyway, I am trying to balance between being amicable and limiting contact so we can continue along this path. The only time she seemed to get irritable was when I mentioned her indiscretions, so I just stopped and said we don't have to talk about it. Also, she recently asked for the dog in the divorce. Earlier on I was wholly against it because she abandoned him and me both and made me make sacrifices to care for him while working full-time. However, now I think that she will have to be reminded of our relationship every day with him in the future. I definitely love our dog and he has been incredible for my emotional health throughout this whole thing, but I know I can be alright without him. Any advice from people who have gone through this divorce process with a WS before? It's clear she still has no remorse, but I think serving her the papers made her wake up to the fact about what is actually happening and that she needs to deal with it instead of being a child and blocking all communication. How do you know your BPSO is stable and not manic/depressed? General question about BP. I'm at an interesting time right now in my journey with my bipolar wife. She has already done all the damage and left a burning marriage in her wake. I have been patient, but I have also kept my distance because I know there is nothing I can do to help her right now, unmedicated/undiagnosed. When do you usually feel safe again that your BPSO is stable or at least in a state where reason comes back? I ask for a couple reasons. We have already filed for a divorce and I would like it to be as painless as possible for her and for me. So I would like to be able to talk to her. I don't want her to feel hopeless when she comes to the realization of what she has done and the utter destruction she has caused in our family's lives. She finally unblocked me and started reaching out more cordially last week, but she also doesn't seem stable yet either. She lied again, shows no empathy, and is keeping her distance. What signs should I look out for that she is becoming stable again? This is the first time I experienced an episode this intense, so I am very confused about this illness even though I have spent almost every waking minute researching it. It gets better, but it has to get worse first. Update. This week has been like a breath of fresh air from my situation, but Labor Day weekend was probably my toughest time yet. Last week I started noticing a change in my dog, now that my STBX had abandoned us for 2 months. He already had bad separation anxiety, and it was even worse. He chewed the siding on the door and urinated so much it was like a pipe burst in the house when I was gone for about an hour. It was absolutely killing me inside because he was now feeling the pain of her departure. We originally adopted him with the mutual understanding that since I worked full-time and she didn't, she would help out with taking care of him. Then she left and made me make sacrifices to care for him. like taking a long lunch so I could go home and let him out / paying for a dog sitter / etc. To make matters worse, our other pet, a hedgehog, passed away from old age on Sunday. I reached out to her to let her know, because he was her pet, and she initially was angry with me, but she also wanted to take care of the dog for a change. Monday she came over to pick up more of her stuff, bury the hedgehog, and I let her take the dog. While I love our dog, it was like a weight was lifted from my shoulders now that I don't have to worry about his anxiety and now that she has taken the responsibility to watch him. We had another conversation, and it left me feeling much better. Our conversation. I asked how her teletherapy was going. She said it was tough not speaking to a person face to face, so I suggested she seek in-person counseling as she's still under my healthcare until the divorce is final. This was the first time where I suggested this and she didn't get angry at me for suggesting it. She even thanked me for the help. We then talked about the whole situation, how I told her I noticed a change in her habits a couple weeks before she went off the deep end, left, and cheated on me, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, had weird dreams, was unable to really have a conversation. She acknowledged that she had these issues, but she was still completely misremembering the sequence of events and order of things that happened. She also looked very bad, cut her hair short, unhealthily skinny, and just looked dead in the face. I had no attraction at all towards this woman who used to be gorgeous. From our talk it was very evident that she now realizes something is wrong with her mentally. She was trying to show emotion at the passing of our hedgehog, but this highly emotional woman who had no problem crying previously couldn't even shed a tear. Really, my suspicions were all becoming confirmed and I was glad to see she was finally attempting to get some help. Our last dialogue went like this. In a few years you will meet someone who is so special and will be the person you're meant to be with. I just could never be that girl for you. Me, you always were that girl, you just didn't see it in yourself. I didn't know it, but that's what I needed to hear. She is basically telling me that her self-esteem was so low that she thought she didn't deserve me or our life. That's why she abandoned our life and all the incredible things I provided and went to a lowlife who she thinks she deserves. It really is sad a person can be that screwed up, but after all the hate, deceit, and lies to cover up what she really thought, it was refreshing to finally hear her say what I suspected all along. I will say, going no contact felt good for a bit, but I would encourage anyone who is dealing with a partner who has been unfaithful and you suspect it is a mental illness to talk to them when they start seeking therapy. We are still proceeding with the divorce and she has agreed to amicably split up assets instead of drawing out a long court case, which is better for both of us. The last 2 months of my life have been an emotional and mental hurricane, but I am glad for her and me that this happened when it did. It is helping her finally seek therapy and helping me realize the ticking time bomb I was dealing with. I do truly hope the best for her, and besides this wild episode she was an incredible person. If I would do anything differently in this whole thing I would have get her into a therapist the moment she started having all these symptoms, but if you haven't dealt with mental illness you can't know. Hopefully this situation will force her to get the help she needs and she can become stable again, but right now I can only provide the opportunity, but she has to take advantage of it. Rapid cycling? Others taking advantage of her. Advice needed. So now that things have calmed down a bit, my undiagnosed, unmedicated STBXW is trying to contact me more. Through the texts I can tell if she's in an angry mood or trying to be nice again. Like clockwork, every 2 to 3 days she starts a conversation with me. Some days it is, hey, here's a number of someone I just met, you should talk to him, and some days it is, I don't regret anything, you did this to me. She also was trying to make herself seem like she's doing much better without me and told me she's buying a house, which is a terrible idea in her situation. I've learned to set a boundary for the angry days because it just hurts me. For example, yesterday was an angry day and eventually I just had to say that I needed to stop texting her and if she needs to talk, we could talk in person some other time. To me this seems like rapid cycling of her BP symptoms, but I also think the guy she is cheating on me with and her lawyer might be taking advantage of her, since she said in our texts people always take advantage of me. In general she is not a very intelligent person, but add BP symptoms into the mix and she is making very dumb decisions. At this point I am just trying to manage and keep my distance until the divorce is finalized, since she has already cheated, lied, and broke all trust between us. I hate to see this because I am the only one to never take advantage of her, and actually gave her an incredible life. She was $25,000 in debt before we got together. I paid off her student loans and provided us a great life. She is now saying that I took her away from a high-paying job, which she told me she hated, to be with me. It all hurts to hear because I know it's the BP speaking. I honestly just am hoping that the BP episode goes away and we can talk like normal human beings, but I really think that is a pipe dream at this point. Has anyone dealt with rapid cycling like this? Any advice beyond what I am currently doing? I really appreciate all the help. Things are getting better for me and I am actually looking forward to the single life now. Why is it so hard to tell people about what happened? Advice. The title says it all. I just hate telling people that she cheated on me and that I'm getting divorced. Don't get me wrong, it is necessary to tell some people and I feel great support afterwards, but it is really difficult to talk about all that she did to me. Does anyone else feel the same way? Deep down inside I just want to transfer the knowledge of what happened to everyone's brains, and I know some people have probably caught on to the fact we aren't living together, aren't in any social media pics, etc. I'm not really worried about what people will think, because they know my character. However, it is just such an awkward conversation to have. Does anyone have advice for how you told people after you found out about the infidelity? The best way so far has been me telling a few people and then letting them tell other people, but in that case I don't know who knows and who doesn't. It's just a weird situation to be in, and I'm hoping to be done with the divorce soon so I can move on. Karma? I'm finally starting to recover. Update. Alright, so a big part of my story has been the dog we share. About 2 weeks ago I let her take care of our dog and honestly I just needed a break. I work full time and our dog was really struggling with his separation anxiety and I was too. Anyways, she recently returned our dog back to me, full of fleas, and asked if I would watch him again. Of course I said I would, but we had a good conversation that followed this. If you remember from my story, she cheated on me with her flight instructor, and I was financially and educationally supporting her in her flying since I am already a pilot. I had my suspicions that her rationale for cheating was that she began struggling flying and her instructor likely said something along the lines of, "You should pay more so you can fly more often," because she asked me for more money to fly more often. Mind you, she was already flying 3 hours a week, $750 a week. I'm sure when I put my foot down and said it wasn't the right move for our family, she decided she could just sleep her way into free lessons. Anyways, she told me I was controlling, manipulative, and a narcissist for not spending more money so she could achieve her dream. Childish, right? Fast forward to our discussion last Friday. I ask her how flying is going. She says she quit flying because it's too expensive and she needs to get my mind right. So she gave up on the entire reason she destroyed our marriage, and I have my suspicions that her and AP are not seeing each other anymore either, because she mentioned that she is currently staying on a pull-out bed in a house with 6 people and 2 dogs. She is staying with one of her co-workers who is 40-something and living with her parents after also recently getting divorced. In 2 short months, my wife went from having an incredible life where she didn't have to work, had a husband that financed her flight training, and our own airplane we could fly whenever and wherever, to living in a house with 6 other people and working a job where she can barely get by. Another dream that she gave up on was becoming a flight attendant at a major airline. She was actually called back to work in July and declined that opportunity. I asked her if she had reconsidered, but I have a lot of friends who work at the airline and she said she wouldn't feel comfortable if she ran into them while working. She still is without remorse, and I think she still believes I caused her to do all this, but reality is hitting and it is striking her hard. I've encouraged her to seek mental health help without her lashing out at me, and we have agreed to amicably come to a divorce agreement outside of the court, so things are looking up for me in this situation. It was my birthday yesterday, and I am really lucky to have a great family and friends who wished me the best and have been there for me throughout this. Funniest thing WS said to me: "You can keep all our mutual friends." She knows she FD up big time and is embarrassed to be around people who will know what she did. I move across the country in a little over a month for the military, and hopefully will be starting a great new life. I just hope my STBXW gets the treatment she needs, because she is falling into an unrecoverable tailspin. Made progress today, small things add up. Progress. So last week I found my STBXW's new password for all her accounts. I was feeling particularly lonely today and was about to go try and sign into her accounts, but I had the mental clarity to say, who cares? She is not mine anymore, she broke my trust, why do I care what she does? It was tough, but I think I am finally starting to have more good days than bad days. Don't get me wrong, I still care about her, and I know I was deeply in love with her, but I am learning to let go, and it really helps. This is definitely a process, but I am proud of this small step. My therapist strongly thinks my wife is borderline. Her parents blocked any attempt I tried to get her help uncoupling journey, so my backstory is very long, and you can read a full version of what has happened in my profile. TLDR, wife, 29, of 3 years, was cheating on me, 27M, with her flight instructor. Then she discarded me out of the blue, before I knew of the affair, and made it my fault / blamed me for being manipulative, controlling, and narcissistic. I had my first session with a therapist the other day and it went very well. I told her my entire story, and at first she suspected bipolar, but after I continued she noticed the fact that there were holes in my STBXW's story about her parents and her childhood. As we talked more, she suggested my STBXW is borderline. I have done plenty of research on both, but I think the therapist is right. Can people hide their BPD for 3 to 4 years? My therapist seemed to think so, or at least I was the caretaker / lover / her idealization during those years and not the villain. I did however see BPD play out in her career. Every year she had a new identity: investigator, saleswoman, flight attendant, pilot, and it was concerning to me. I think she just couldn't hide her BPD in our relationship anymore, and that is what caused the affair / outbursts, and I think her parents have done something to her in her past that they don't want to be revealed through therapy. That is why when I suggested therapy they immediately were against it and tried to turn my wife against me. It's all starting to come together now. What can I expect next? I've read a lot on here about hoovering, but I don't really see any signs of that. Her past usually has her going from one person to the next. I also want her to get psychiatric help, but I know her parents will try and prohibit me from that. Do I still try and get her help, or am I sole in helping her? What is sad is she confided in me about her parents not raising her well, but yet she took their side instead of mine when she needed help. Is there any hope for her, or is this a lost cause? On me, I am doing much better. This is the hardest thing I have gone through because I put my all into this relationship, but I am realizing now the best option is to cut my losses. I don't believe I was codependent or gave in to her abuses, and I had strict boundaries, probably why she left. Man, was this a hurricane of emotions though? I was really her only stable relationship ever, she told me, and she just discarded me at a moment's notice. My therapist suspected bipolar, then suggested BPD. Props. I suggest you take a quick look at my list of 12 BPD / bipolar differences. If you have questions, I would be glad to discuss them with you. Also, please keep in mind that these two disorders often occur together. About 30% of bipolar sufferers also have BPD, and 40% of people with BPD, PWBPD, have co-occurring bipolar. See Table 3 at 2008 study in J. Clin Psych. Thanks for the guide. I honestly think she might have both. The only reason my therapist thinks BPD and not BP is because she hasn't really shown mania in the typical fashion, but could be BP type 2, but she does show grandiosity. She also has not completely discarded me. She blocked me on everything for about 3 weeks and then started contacting me again. I have been incredibly careful in our discussions since and have limited contact to only divorce proceedings and letting her see our dog. She has been nicer to me and acknowledged that I am really not all the evil things she said to me, but still thinks I am a manipulative, controlling person, which couldn't be further from the truth. I definitely get the I hate you but I love you vibe. Sorry that you're going through all of this. A few things that stand out to me. BPD is difficult to diagnose for several reasons. While your therapist may very well be right, there's no way to diagnose a person from a third-party account, and particularly not in a single session. I'm not discounting what you've learned, just encouraging you to not get hung up on whether this is BPD, bipolar, a mix of both, or something else entirely. As much as you want to help her, even after all the awful things she has done to you, it won't end well for either of you. Short answer, yes, you are sole in helping her. As you've likely already learned with BPD and the discard process, you are now the enemy. She may or may not come back begging for forgiveness, but I caution you to not fall into the trap. I had a pretty similar experience with my ex's parents as I left. Her behavior got so bad that I was genuinely scared she would hurt herself, and she refused any sort of help no matter how much I begged. I went to her parents, telling them that I was leaving their daughter but I wanted her to get help. That day they were disappointed but understanding, and I thought they would do the right thing. I was wrong, and within a week they were on her side and I was the enemy all over again. My ex went through cycles where her parents were awful to her, and other times where they were amazing according to her. Keep going to therapy for yourself. I'd say the most likely scenario is that you ignored or enabled unhealthy relationship behaviors long before this blow up. I know that during my marriage I thought it was normal but difficult, but looking back there were so many red flags. 2 books I often recommend on here, Boundaries and Stop Caretaking the Borderline or Narcissist. Be kind to yourself, stay strong, and focus on you, the only person you can control or change in this situation. Do I still try and get her help? Nope. I almost think that my independence and rescuing personality dragged me into loving her, and subconsciously I could see she needed help even though she portrayed a very stable person. The twisted thing is that the more I tried to help her, the more she would pull away until I finally set some boundaries, which led her to the next supply. You're right though, there's not much more I can do. It's sad, what a terrible set of parents who would rather cover up their mistakes than get their daughter the proper treatment she deserves. So a sort of interesting update to this. I wanted to buy the book I Hate You, Don't Leave Me on Amazon because my therapist recommended it, but for some reason it only allowed me to add it to my wish list. Unbeknownst to me, she would get emails anytime I added something to my wish list. The next morning I woke up to an email stating my wife had left the Amazon family account, haha. So she knows that now I suspect BPD and I didn't even have to tell her. She's also probably pissed at me again because she left the account, but at least now I don't have the urge to tell her she might have BPD because she knows it. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.